Okay, welcome, McDuff.
Welcome, George.
Yeah, we did a big live session on McDuff's channel earlier today. Trained, obviously, litigation lawyer from Georgetown. Don't hold that against him, right? And if you want in-depth legal analysis, you're going to have to go to McDuff's channel. I encourage you to subscribe. We're doing pretty good on the indexing as well.
George has been down here helping me out with my channel because I don't know how to do it, but he's showing me, and we've got 240 some videos that are now indexed and entered into the indexing system.
Yeah. So the amazing part about all this is we're going to use McDuff's smaller channel, more organized, right from the very start by the books, to then sort of a knowledge management system, using it, whatever solution we come up with there for indexing this thing, the same way you prepare an index for a book. We were going to do a table of contents as well, but then Jumping Mouse did it, and it was over. It was done.
It's great.
Yeah, it's awesome, and that's at Google Sites.
Yes, it's just McDuff.google, I think, gets it. It's sites.google.mcduff.
Sites.google.mcduff. So you can get there. Hopefully, eventually, we'll get a table of contents. For my channel, I have 4,000 videos versus 240. But we're trying to do it in microcosm first and then move on. But I think that's...
what does that comment say, John? What? Oh, well, we can't quite see it.
Can't quite see it. In this, I might be able to read comments if I take my sunglasses off.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll go from there. So the big thing here is you've been a longtime viewer of the channel as well. Thank you for the nice compliment. So you've been a long time.
Yeah, and my compliments too, sir.
Yeah. Well, and you remember, I mean, having viewed, I think you said you watched all the Hades stuff with Jeff Epstein and DynCorp.
By the way, I just want to insert this, that I did look up into the SEPA law, and I can see that the writing's on the wall. We were not going to get into the courtroom. So instead of that, we decided to stay down here and enjoy this beautiful day.
Yeah, and if you want to see some, if you want to be reminded of Sid Blumenthal and Tyler Drumheller and some of those early days that we did with Global Osprey, sending weapons all over to all kinds of different conflict areas, I've got a little surprise for everybody right here.
Can you zoom in at all?
Not really, but right up there we've got two Ospreys. So that must be, I named one of them Sid, and I named the other one Tyler. So if we see another one, if we see a baby, we'll call her Valerie Plame. So come on back. Yeah, so anyway, we've got Totos are with us today. Thank you very much. So let's go back here,
yes.
McDuff. We've got our first super chat. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks for the super chat, everybody.
So the reason why I wanted to go on with McDuff here on our channel is now we're switching McDuff out of the role as a lawyer and as a commentator.
Taking the tie off.
Friday, we'll actually go there and we'll go get the updates to see what was classified and what wasn't. Mm-hmm. So we'll see if it's 10 terabytes or 20,000. It's going to be somewhere in between.
And watch Harry the Greek on Twitter, because he'll get it before anybody.
Right. And also we'll be doing metadata analysis of the different folks. Tim Newberry I've already done. Obviously Brian McCauley, FBI agent, I've already done. But I'll be doing all 22 witnesses. And again, I'll only be mentioning the 2 or 3 most significant things, like, hey, why are you hiring psychologists, Brian McCauley, for Flynn Intel Group? If you're doing a thing about supposedly Feta Gulen, why are you hiring psychologists and getting them into meetings with Trump? So we'll just bring you the significant metadata from all the research. And Flynn's trial is until September, so this is really about Kian and Alpepkin, right?
And whether Flynn testifies.
And whether Flynn testifies.
He's apparently, the government was just changed their mind and they're not going to call him as a witness, but who knows what's going to happen. If you were looking at 20 years in jail and calling a witness might get you out of it, what if Keon decides to call Flynn?
Yeah, he wasn't on the witness list, which was interesting.
But rebuttal, it could be rebuttal.
Well, and as I've said, the reason why these two things are together, and people might not see the connections, but the reason why they're together is Bijan Kian and basically takes over Bijan Kian takes over for our good friend. Well, he works with Oleg Deripaska and the people in Ukraine. That's why this story is coming up. Bill Barr wants to slap and seal this case, give a wrist slap to Bijan Kian, give a wrist slap to Altepkin, because they're involved in shipping weapons, and they may very well also be involved in shipping drugs. And the person who did that before, I call it diplomatic security services or diplomatic channel, as I've also called it. It's interesting that we're on the Potomac channel here, right?
Well, actually, right behind us is the Wacomico, where it joins the Potomac, very far down there, and way off in the distance, you can see the shores of Virginia on the other side.
Yeah. So we're talking about the people who come in after Jeff Epstein gets busted, basically. They need a replacement, and Ehud Barak uses Anthony Weiner as a replacement, and people being brought in from other countries to replace him. One of them that was already here was named Imran Awan, that was brought here under Development Alternatives, Inc., through a program called Inter-America. And I know that people say, how did you see that coming from so far away? And I tell them, you can look 2 years ago when Jason first interviewed me. I said, Ehud Barak, and I'm not going to say, I want to lay off the Mossad thing, because I don't want to paint all Mossad people as bad people. There's a lot of good Mossad people.
It's just like FBI or anything else, right? I mean, I don't expect to find evil at the grassroots level of people that just come out of school and join up. And first 4 or 5 years, you know, you're like a sergeant or a lieutenant or a young captain. It's not until you've had some experience that they draw you into the program.
And look at McDuff. I mean, your dad, #1 civilian at the Pentagon. He's a good guy. I mean, not everybody takes the dark route, you know.
No.
Obviously. So I don't want to paint all the people at Mossad with a brush. I just want to go to the network that's doing the bad stuff, being very specific. I hate it when people make comments about Mossad like all Mossad is bad. There's good Mossad, there's bad Mossad. I tried to make this point 2 years ago, and people just said I was a Mossad agent, and it's not true. Ehud Barak did want to do a compromise operation. He did want to infiltrate, and he picked up people for this illegal trade. This is now again, it could be legal drugs and weapons going in one direction and drugs going in the other. So that's why Jeff got flight lessons by Bill Barr's. You know, Bill Barr didn't hire Jeff Epstein as a flight instructor at Dalton to teach people, to teach $50,000 a year students calculus and math, you know, so.
What is, give me a little more about Ehud Barak's role at the time, and who is he working for really? Because I understand and I believe that often Mossad will do something for a Five Eyes person or something like that. So is he working on his own here or what?
Well, okay, so
if you know.
Yeah, I do, and this is all covered 2.5 years ago, maybe even before you joined our series, which was, we talked about this. We talked about Bob Maxwell, we talked about Mark Rich, we talked about Avi Braverman, we talked about Ehud Barak. This was this little group that was being kind of used by our little, I wouldn't call it Five Eyes, I'd call it the Rhodesia mining, the Milner's kindergarten kind of.
The Milner group, that goes back a long way.
Yeah, they're kind of being used by the Milner group.
So that's basically British intelligence.
Yeah, they are acting as British intelligence. You know, and we're going to go through some people today that they're connected to. But what I really want to do is kind of recapitulate the early series where we talked about all this. In the interview that first interview I did with Jason, we made a joke. We called Anthony Weiner's firm, Mossad Worldwide, MWW. We sat outside his apartment right next to the MS-13 headquarters at the Honduran embassy. We made no bones about it. I mean, we said Ehud Barak was he wanted Anthony Weiner, I think, to be the first dual citizen president, at least the first dual citizen. At least the first. Well, now Schumer became the first dual citizen senator from New York, but he wanted Anthony Weiner to be senator from New York. And again, I don't think it's all dual citizens are bad. It's just certain people who wanted to kind of affect the diplomatic channel through compromise, through compromise operations. So when now 2.5 years later, now everybody realizes that Wexner is running diplomatic security services. These are very thinly veiled covert weapons operations and training, very thinly veiled.
Cutouts.
Cutouts, they're cutouts. African Training Solutions, Op Center, G2S. These are the types of cutouts that you would have for different operations. And we can go through some of those in a little bit, but the key point here is the pathway. The pathway started with Hillary Clinton and Madeleine Albright. It started in the second term of Bill Clinton, as we've said again for 2.5 years. They started with the Secret Service agents around them, but they couldn't get them into being diplomatic security services agents, DSS agents. They couldn't make the leap. Hillary couldn't take her inner group, the USS, USSS, and make them DSS, which was Diplomatic Security Services. I attended the Benghazi trial, and let me tell you, she achieved her objective. She got everybody in there. And these guys are they either will be wearing a badge in one day, and the next day they're the private Stasi working for you. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. Your books have talked about cutouts over and over and over again. How many operations have you covered in your series?
Well, you know, I'm just, when you said Stasi, I had this chilling recollection. Did you ever see a Stasi up close?
No.
Well, I did.
Okay.
When I was in my big Europe trip, after college and everything, I took a trip to Europe by myself, and I rode the train, and I wanted to go to Berlin. Well, to get from West Germany to West Berlin, you had to go through East Berlin territory, and that's when the Stasi get on the train.
Right.
And all the people from the Federal Republic get off. They put on, you know, their own engineer, their own guards. But what they do is and this just, I'll never forget it. This Stasi guy, you know, with that Prussian cap and the uniform, comes up to me, and he has got a submachine gun slung over his neck, and he's looking at me, and he's looking at the passport, and he just says Ausweis, you know, passport, and I gave it to him. He's up and down and up and down and up and down, just making sure that I knew that he was, you know, a powerful dude, and
yeah.
I better just be quiet and shut up. It was scary.
Yeah, and I did go to Berlin. Berlin is a cutout operation. We've talked a lot about Julian Assange with the Berlin Computer Club. I did go to Berlin after the fall twice and spent a lot of time there looking for Jacob Applebaum, but I did get it on one side of the Spree was East German and the other side was West German.
But when you say that this is a Stasi operation, that should send a chill down everybody's
Whoa,
spine.
very much so. Compromise was very much a part of the Stasi modus operandi. And I went to the headquarters, and there was some people that had 30,000 pictures taken of them. There was one woman that she was attractive, so I can understand it, but had 30,000 pictures in her file. People couldn't believe they actually had the German people go in and into the Stasi files, and they couldn't believe there was hundreds and hundreds of pictures. There was all kinds of neighbors that had ratted them out and done reports on them for the littlest things. It was quite amazing, and this is this dossier mentality. And Ehud Barak brought that, and that was the idea, to bring that to the key power centers of New York, Washington, D.C., and Florida.
You think about I mean, I just it chills me that Israel would allow its Mossad people to do things like this in the United States.
Well, I think Bob Maxwell, I'll speak for Bob Maxwell, who was later murdered, was saying, hey, wait a minute, guys, this is beyond our objectives here. This is beyond our existence being threatened. We're getting into just profiteering. This is just compromise for compromise's sake. This isn't getting nuclear secrets from Iran. This is, full-scale dossier operation, right? And the thing people have to understand is Ehud Barak, the personal pilot of Ehud Barak was Jeffrey Epstein. They have to get that connection in their mind, right? That this isn't some imagined connection. I think it's even in the indictment. So I've been, again, confirmed or validated by an indictment from the Department of Justice. The other piece is Ehud Barak was grooming Anthony Weiner. Anthony Weiner's not his real name. None of these people are in this association are their real names. You'll hear the Wexner cutouts here in a minute. Anyway,
You think they picked his name in anticipation of?
no, it's just a funny name. It's just like they picked names like Strokes and Wiener and names like that.
Dumbass.
I can't remember what Rahm Emanuel's real name is.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember what all the real names are. Mark Rich it's not his real name, etc.
Well, get back to what you were saying. I had to put in about the Stasi because you say Stasi and it goes, oh, I still get that chill.
Yeah, and this is the same thing they used to do, and also the KGB used to do this, where we did a story on the hotel, and I can't remember what was their travel agency, and of the hotel in Moscow, of the 400 rooms, 80 of them were wired. 80 of them were wired. That's because in the next room there was KGB agents with the cigarettes and the tape recorder and the film going. So it's not. This isn't an East-West thing or a communist Nazi thing. It's just a compromise thing.
It compromised because that's how business gets done.
And these are compromise operations. I don't know how else to say this, but when I was talking about Jeff Epstein going out to Long Island and maybe flying to Port Jefferson or flying to Martha's Vineyard or whatever, Anthony Weiner was the guy who was loading up the plane with the talent. Jeff had to stock the plane, but Anthony Weiner was the person putting the people, on the Silver Streak, Olga Landgill or whatever. That was his job. I mean, that's just the way it is. So the Blackberries are very important. The people who are configuring the Blackberries are very important in this situation because you don't want these kind of compromise operations falling under the eyes of the NSA. That's why they needed Imran Awan to do the Blackberries. So, go ahead. You have a thought there. I can see.
No, I was just thinking about NSA. Are they going to save us? Is NSA going to be the white hats?
I think so. Part of the problem with NSA, of course, is because it's a mountain of information, and you have to find the needle in the haystack. What we try to do on this channel through open source research is to say, at least it's maybe a million haystacks. Look in those three. You got a lot better chance to focus all your energy and put it out there. And I do think we're getting different people that are releasing information. You see Barr. Bill Barr now has unrecused himself for the Epstein case for the sole purpose of shutting it down. He knows his dad hired Jeff Epstein, and he knows what Jeff Epstein did for his dad.
I know why, but why doesn't the New York Times report this?
They report it as, Bill Barr's taking charge now.
Yeah, and
right?
and I saw this today. They had a picture of Epstein standing next to Trump, and it was all about what's Epstein and Trump, and then it had a little sidebar that said, what is the relation between Epstein and Bill Clinton, as if that was a side issue.
Yeah. Well, and I want to say that Bill Clinton's 79 trips or whatever to the island were compromise trips. They're compromise trips. They're not the Pizzagate thing that you think. Thomas Paine put out the thing last night talking again about red meat for the right, talking about how this kid was supposedly raped by Bill Clinton on the island. Not true. This is an information operation. The kid is Nellie Orr's nephew. His name's John L. Hawk, and he threw that red meat out there for task force. And I went with her. I told her that. She didn't believe me. I went and interviewed him, and then he did look like a sex victim. I'm not saying he wasn't. I'm not saying I mentioned Bill Clinton, or I mentioned Jeff Epstein, I think. I'm not saying that didn't happen, but you can't delete out the testimony. If you introduce the evidence, you can't, Jason, you can't delete when he says Schumer and Weiner were on the boat. You can't delete that out. You can't delete out the fact that it was the Block Island meeting of August 13th, 1997. You can't delete out the kid's face. If it is John L. Hawk that did the tape, we'd be able to figure that out.
Now, I was working on that with you with the Block Island. You remember?
Yeah.
Remember the picture of Clinton on Block Island, which I came across, and that opened that whole Block Island thing up.
Yeah, it was great research.
And that was 2 years ago now. So But you know, before that, you had done so much work on Haiti, and
Yeah.
you mentioned the connection. I mean, the obvious. You know, Jeff Epstein. You want to talk about?
Mirabaile, the private hospital, the mesa in the middle of Haiti is this table. It's the mesa part of Haiti. It's the natural defense fortress of Haiti. If you ever were in trouble in America and the DOJ was coming after you, you could always go to Haiti. They'll give you a reprieve. And Mirabaile is a natural fortress. And there's this. We just ran into another case where it just seems to be a private hospital with a heliport. We just had reports that Bill Gates was going there frequently, doing studies in virology.
In Haiti.
In Haiti, which is kind of amazing because it's not that far of a flight from Epstein's Island, Lolita Island.
I mean, Haiti has been a tragedy for 200 years or more. It's just an unbelievable tragedy. But I have to say that another one is Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about reminds me of what I've read about the Rockefellers' medical research, in Puerto Rico, including this fella that was bragging about giving a half dozen people cancer.
Tugwell. This is Tugwell, the RSM2, Robert Swan Mueller II, his partner in business in Tugwell Metals. Tugwell becomes the governor of Puerto Rico after World War II.
And all this stuff is permitted, of course, but the people, the driving force is the Rockefellers. It's the Rockefeller, whatever they call that particular foundation that's funding this horrific research. I mean, why do you think they're trying to see if they can give somebody cancer, with an injection or whatever? Is it really so that they would be able to develop a vaccine?
Or population control.
Or is it not just population control or individual assassinations as can...
You could do either.
But you have to do the testing, and that means you have to categorize these people, the natives of Puerto Rico, as subhumans.
Right, and that Army general did. Okay, come here.
Okay,
sorry, we talked about Rockefeller.
Yeah.
And we made the mistake.
Uh-oh.
We made the mistake.
Sorry, guys.
We talked about We used the R word.
Toto's up in arms now.
Yeah, Toto's not happy. He sees the Rockefeller behind the curtain. And did you see a Bell 206A helicopter with Peter Strzok go by?
You know what? Toto has that hearing.
Yes,
She heard the helicopter.
Okay, might have heard the helicopter.
Yeah.
So back to the serious side of this for a second. There's a couple of cutouts I'll just point people in the direction to. This is Wexner now. Wexner's at again, we use military resources, we use State Department resources to do our dirty work. We get people who are not even involved or know that it's dirty work to move all the stuff for the most part. And then we have a little offshoot, the last mile I call it. The last dirty mile is all you need. If you're going to ship it all over the world for me, whether it's illegal drugs, legal drugs, or weapons, I'm more than happy to let you do it. Where I want to get involved, and there I said Epstein again, and that's going to trigger. But where I'm going to get involved is the last mile, the last dirty mile. You want to walk back?
No, we're good. She just had to let that...
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So my point is, you got to go where the distribution centers are. That's why we followed Fort Belvoir. If you're going to use the distribution mechanism of the military to do your dirty work, you have to go to those places to do the compromise in those places. It's easy to compromise a guy who's an E1 or E2, right, and get him on the pink cocaine. Once I've got him on the Jaquea pink cocaine at the Fort Belvoir gate, I don't need a general. I don't need a whole bunch of people. All I need is one soldier at the gate from midnight to 8 a.m. who likes Jaquea and the pink cocaine, right? That's the compromise operation that was at the Sprayer house in our story.
But let me just jump in because I've just been reading, of course, on my channel, I'm doing a lot of book readings about very important books about, the deep state. And the one I've just been in the middle of is Sante. The Raid by Benjamin Shimmer is the formal name of the book, and it's all about the Sante raid. Well, the whole idea of releasing of freeing these prisoners, it started in Fort Belvoir. It started with Air Force enlisted guys reviewing some photographs and seeing something unusual. And I throw that in here because for two reasons. Number one, how small a world it is.
Yeah.
That all this is going on right here in this tight circle around D.C. And number two, because just like we're talking about, not all Mossad is bad. Well, not all everybody that works at Fort Belvoir is bad either.
No,
and
very
certainly
few.
all if there's a bad enlisted guy at the gate, you know, that shame on them for letting it happen. But we have to remember that our rank and file are true blue Americans.
The guy who I met with, and I met him and his two sons on Mount Vernon, who worked at the Defense Logistics Agency, who came out and met me incognito, he said, everything you've said about the number, you know, I can't remember what the military contractor, the cage number, the cage code, what you said about the cage code, what you said about DLA, the Defense Logistics Agency, the Food and Drugs, everything you said is true, right? You went over to the little Air Force base, the little helicopter base, the surreptitious base. It's true, you know, and so I get confirmation. I've gotten confirmation by people who have stepped up and done the right thing, but they're just afraid of reprisals. They're afraid of reprisals. So I try to tell people where I am, right? And I try to say, I'm here. You know, if anybody wants to come out here. Now, we can't do that here, but
down by the Navy Memorial was one of your famous hangouts, right?
And we had a lot of people come up and say, oh, by the way, you're on the right track and here and this and
cool.
And so, I mean, a lot of people there.
Yeah, well, I mean, this you got to do something. We don't want anybody to get compromised.
No, and it's easy to come up and accidentally drop a piece of paper, and I've had that happen to me on Capitol Hill as well. So anyway, let me move to some names. Now, you remember E.T.
You mean E.T.?
Yeah, E.T. phone home.
E.T. phone home?
Now I'm going to give you a quiz. Do you remember his favorite candy?
No.
It's either M&M's or Reese's Pieces.
I'm going to go with Reese's Pieces.
Reese's Pieces.
Really?
You know why?
No, I have no idea, except for the peanut butter.
Right, exactly. Well, the reason is they wanted, no, the reason is they didn't want to, I'm not saying that Wexner has a cutout with a guy named Reese, James Patrick Reese.
No.
And they said, hey, Reese's Pieces, that would be a great, let's have an Africa Training Corporation. And that's how we'll have Jeff Epstein ship weapons down there through African training. Wouldn't that be a great way to do African training? We'll ship Reese's Pieces, and we'll.
What is African training actually consist of?
75,000 AK-47s and 3 million rounds of ammunition. If you're.
Of course.
Yeah.
Why couldn't I figure that out?
Reese's Pieces, and that's Reese's Pieces. James Patrick, and again, all these are fake names, but James Patrick Reese. Works for Wexner and has one of these cutout African organizations. There's another guy by the Hope Springs Eternal, right? Hope Springs Eternal?
Every day.
We're here at a spring. It would be great to have a spring of weapons, right? And I guess, let's see, I'm trying to think of his name. Is it James Gross? Is it James Gross Spring? Anyway, he's got a company called Op Center. He's got another one called G2 Security. Another one G2S, not G4S. These are all Wexner cutouts for shipping weapons under the cloak of diplomatic security for different conflict areas around the world. And as soon as you get conflict areas, you're going to get conflict trafficking in humans, conflict trafficking in mineral, the whole thing, gas, oil, etc. And that's the plan here, is use CIA operations and covert operations with these ridiculous cutout names to do takings. This is Mark Rich, Avi Braverman, Bob Maxwell, I think is the hero here, where he was the McDuff and said, hey guys, this was supposed to be about the security of our country. We're surrounded on 7 sides and you guys are out all over the world. You know, I get the uranium, I get we need the bomb for our security, but I don't get the, you know, wholesale. And everybody's going to come back and say, well, Ghislaine Maxwell, you know, that's Bob Maxwell's daughter. She's in there doing all the 50 girls and all the rape and getting them all ready with their little beauty shop that they had there at Epstein's Island. She's guilty. Well, Ghislaine Maxwell may be guilty, but that doesn't mean Bob Maxwell is. I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, I have no idea. This is far from my area of expertise. I don't know anything about it. I just.
How about cutouts in general? Has the CIA ever done cutouts?
Oh, cutouts, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I thought you were asking me for an opinion on Bob Maxwell, and I couldn't possibly.
Right. But as far as cutouts go, I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. That's you see it all the time. I've been seeing it in all my books. They just create The whole thing starts off, to me, with the first creation of a U.S. government creates a corporation to run the Panama Canal deal.
Right.
Guess who did it? Sullivan and Cromwell.
Sullivan and Cromwell.
Then
do you know whose dad is a big lawyer at Sullivan and Cromwell that I didn't know? Tom Steyer, the guy who's financing the billionaire in California. I'm not going to say drug billionaire because that would be embarrassing him. But Tom Steyer, the guy who does all the impeachment ads for Trump, his dad was Sullivan and Cromwell lawyer.
But it's the whole idea of using cutouts, to me, is a way
You said Epstein.
to get the government to control. To control who the government gives deals to.
Right.
That's a big part of it. Okay, let me take care of this. Excuse me.
Okay, so I think we said Epstein one too many times. Todos are not happy. Both Todos are in Toto rebellion here. They're looking for Bob Maxwell. Bob Maxwell was drowned by a couple of guys. I'm not saying it was done by Mark Rich, but I think it was.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he was drowned by, I think it was in the Red Sea, if I'm not mistaken. Not so nice. Or maybe it was in the Mediterranean. But anyway, just not a very nice thing to do, to drown somebody, wasn't very good. But I think that they...
Well, that's the whole origin of the word wet works.
Wet works.
That's why. No, it is. It's why we call it wet works. If you look at Kay Griggs's work, she identifies, Colby having his canoe accident.
Right over there.
Over there.
Oh, over there more. Okay.
But not far away.
Not
but
far
over there, over on the Wicomico more than on the Potomac. But
okay.
Anyway, just about a half a mile from here.
I thought wet work was the blood on the floor, but
no. Wet works is the scuba guys.
Oh, okay.
You go underwater and you come up and suddenly and then you flip the kayak or the canoe over and then you drown them.
Okay.
And then you disappear. Nobody ever saw you.
Right, I got you.
That's the idea of wet works.
Yeah, well, that would be a good one for Marchenko, right, and SEAL Team 6 in Little Creek Island. Little Creek, Virginia. So I'm going to finish this off just by saying we're just putting out companies for people to do metadata research on, but G2S, again, full of FBI guys, CIA guys, ex-DSS people that are moonlighting and being mercenaries. Africa Training Solutions. I think they even name. There's a couple of people that Bijan Kian names. There's a couple of African cutouts there as well. I can't remember the African cutout in the Bijan Kian witness list, but I know how hard this is going to be for people to believe. But when Jeff Epstein was exposed, they brought in this whole cast of characters. Everyone you're seeing right now. The reason why
Deripaska, right?
Deripaska, Alp Tepkin, who owns an airline, the EA Group, the Executive Airline Group. Akim Al-Tepkin as well, but it's all jets. It's all corporate jets. Again, we've got Justin Cooper and Doug Band giving out diplomatic passports like candy because don't check my bag, if you please, Mr. Customs Man. I got diplomatic immunity. So we'll leave it there. But any final thoughts, McDuff?
I just think that we're going to keep on pulling back the curtain, and I think the Todos are saying, hey, let's go home and get back on the computer and do some more research.
Let's pull some more curtains. Let's all be Todos. Thanks, everybody, for McDuff, and we're going to probably do a show tonight at 8, you think?
I think we might.
You want to do a reading, or you want to keep going on we'll see if we get some good research goodies.
Yeah, let's just see what happens. I don't like to get behind on my readings. On the other hand, I don't want to miss a chance to have a chat with George.
Yep, there you go. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
And the Todos are ready to pull curtains.
Come on, guys, let's go home.